Hello friends, notes on English literature, 16th and 17th century poetry, selected poems of John Donne, The Sun Rising, brief questions with answers, brief questions 1 to 29. Question 1. Who was John Donne? Answer. John Donne was the leader and founder of the metaphysical school of poetry in the 17th century. Question 2. Who were Donne's followers? Answer. The followers of John Donne were George Herbert, Henry Vaughan, Andrew Marvell, Richard Crashaw, John Cleveland, Abraham Cowley, and a few others. Question 3. When and where was John Donne born? Answer. John Donne was born in Bridge Street, London in 1572 to a prosperous Roman Catholic family. Question 4. What is metaphysical poetry? Answer. Metaphysical poetry means poetry dealing with metaphysical subjects like the nature of the universe, the movement of the stars and planets, the creation of man and his relation with the universe, the nature of soul and its function in the body made of flesh and blood, and the whole relationship of man with God. Question 5. In what sense is Donne a metaphysical poet? Answer. John Donne is a metaphysical poet in the sense that he makes an abundant use of wit, conceit over elaborate similes and metaphors drawn from remote and unfamiliar sources. It is not the substance but his attitude to the human spirit and poetic technique that makes him a metaphysical poet. Question 6. Bring out the main features of metaphysical poetry. Answer. Metaphysical poetry is generally marked by such characteristics as wit, conceit, ratiocination, blend of emotion and intellect, use of hyperboles, imagery, expression in dramatic and colloquial tones. Question 7. By whom were the metaphysical restored? Answer. The metaphysicals got their position restored in the hands of the new critics in the 20th century, especially T.S. Eliot, who admired metaphysical poetry. Question 8. What is conceit? Answer. A metaphysical conceit is basically a simile or a comparison between two or dissimilar things or two most heterogeneous ideas. This kind of comparison is highly exaggerated, fantastic, and far-fetched, and it gives rise to an image. Question 9. Define a metaphysical wit. Answer. Wit is a clever and humorous expression, but in metaphysics sense, it is the saying of fine, sparkling things which startle and amuse. Is the perception of the similarity in dissimilarity. For example, she is all states and all princes. I nothing else is. The sun rising. Question 10. Define the age of John Donne. Answer. The age of John Donne was an age of transition which lies between the age of Shakespeare and the Jacobean age, 1572 to 1631. The age of John Donne covers actually the first 30 years of the 17th century. The Sun Rising. Question 11. What kind of poem is the Sun Rising? Answer. The Sun Rising is a dramatic love lyric in the form of dialogue between the poet and the sun, and the poet's beloved is the silent listener present in the background throughout. Question 12. What is the context or background of the poem? Answer. Donne represents himself and his beloved as a couple wedded recently, boys coming to school, apprentices unwilling to work, busy farmers, flatterers, courtiers, kings and princes are some other character introduced from the outside world. The time is early in the morning when the sun is rising, and the setting is provided by the sunset bedroom where the poet lies with his beloved. Question 13. What is the theme of the poem The Sun Rising? Answer. The Sun Rising is a love lyric showing the self-sufficient nature of love. The pair of lovers concentrate within themselves all the glory and riches of the outside world. Question 14. What is Donne's view on love in this poem? Answer. Donne's view on love in this poem cannot be term definitely platonic or sensual, rather a mixture of both. According to him, love must be based on both soul, body, and soul. Question 15. Why does the poet call the sun busy old fool? And so the poet rebukes the sun, calling it a old fool for its disturbing the lovers in their bedroom. He asks it not to send its rays through the windows and curtains of the bedroom, but to go and tell the late school poets, apprentices, hunters, and ants that is dawn, that it is dawn. Question 16. How does Donne use personification in the sun rising? Answer. Donne uses personification in his poem, The Sun Rising, by calling the sun a busy old fool, unruly sun. Question 17. How can the poet bedim, eclipse, or shun the brightness of the sun? Answer. The poet lover tells the sun that if he so desires, he can bedim all its brightness by a wink, and suggested the possibility of the brightness of his beloved's eyes having blended its own. Question 18. Why does the poet not want to wink? And so the poet tells the sun that he can deprive of its lustre and darken it by just winking all it, but he does not want to wink, because he does not like to miss the sight of his beloved even for such a short duration of a wink. Question 19. What does the poet compare his beloved to? And so the poet compares his beloved to the species found in East Indies, spices found in the East Indies, and to the valuable metals and stones found in West Indies. She is as fragrant as the spices of East Indies, and as rich and valuable as the gold mines of West Indies. Question 20. What does the poet propose to the sun who inquires for the kings of the past? Answer. Donne thinks that he represents all the kings of the world, and his beloved represents all the states of the world. So if he inquires after the kings of the past or of the present, it will find them in poet's bedchamber, where he and beloved are lying. Question 21. In what sense do the princes of the world imitate the poet and his beloved? And so Donne thinks that by virtue of their perfect love, real honor and wealth are enjoyed by the lovers, the poet and the sweetheart only. So compared to the state of the lovers, the honor enjoyed by the so-called princes of the world is nothing but a cheap imitation of the honor enjoyed by the lovers, and wealth possessed by the kings is nothing but a base metal. Question 22. What does the poet compare his bedroom to, and why? Answer. The poet compares his bedroom to a world because he is beloved, and he stands for all the states and princes of the world, and thus the world has been reduced to a pair of lovers lying in their bedroom. Question 23. How, according to the poet, can the sun, by shining in their bedroom, shine the whole world? Answer. The bed on which the poet and his sweetheart are lying is the whole world to them. So the sun, by shining in their bedroom, only it can shine the whole world, because their bedroom is the epitome of the whole world. Question 24. How has the poet brought macrocosm into microcosm? Answer. According to Donne, the bedroom of the lovers constitutes the center of the universe, and the four walls of the sphere within which the sun revolves, according to the Ptolemaic system of cosmology. The poet here has brought macrocosm into microcosm. Question 25. What is the nature of the true love in Donne's poems? Answer. True love is unaffected by time and space. It knows no division of time, like hours, days, months, seasons, which are nothing but scraps of eternity. It rises above the consideration of months and years, countries and climates. Question 26. What are the wrecks of time? Can they alter or influence the poet's love? Answer. By the expression, the wrecks of time, The poet means the scraps of time or eternity, such as seasons, climate, hours, days, and months. They cannot alter or influence his love for his beloved because they combine themselves into a perfect world of love. Question 27. Whom does the poet ask the sun to rebuke for late spring, late rising? And so the poet asks the sun to rebuke the late schoolboys, disobedient apprentices, the countries which accompany the king during his hunting, and the farmers who collect grains of corns during the harvesting season. The sun should rebuke those people for late rising. Question 28. Why does the poet say that lovemaking has no particular season or time? Answer. Love, according to the poet, transcends the limitations of time and space. It rises above considerations of hours, days, months, or years. So the poet, whose love is true and perfect, does not want the sun to announce the morning by peeping through the windows and curtains of lovers' bedroom. Question 29. Where the East and West Indies famous? And so the East Indies during the Renaissance were famous for their spices, and the West Indies for their diamond and other mineral substances. Thank you friends for watching my video.